This episode features Angel Rich, the CEO of the Wealth Factory, the creator of Credit Stacker, which is available on Apple and Google Play Store. Angel is a graduate of Hampton University. She is also the author of The History of the Black Dollar. She has done so many amazing things. She's been featured in the Forbes magazine. She's responsible for putting together a program which took Purdue Financial Services to $6 billion in just 10 months. She has a wealth of knowledge in the financial industry. Guys, I hope you take notes. She's going to drop a lot of nuggets and gems that we can use to improve our financial mental state. Hope you guys enjoy.
Hey, welcome back to another episode of Do What You Love and Love What You Do. I'm your host, Jacob Crane. And I'm just really excited to have one of my fellow classmates, one of the homies, 2008. So it's 10 plus years of friendship now. Just really excited to just have Angel on the show with us, her growth, her knowledge, her journey. We've been keeping up with each other throughout the years. And she is going to bring a lot of gems, a lot of nuggets, as I say, that can help us. You know, we're doing a series on entrepreneurship. So that's her background. That's her niche. So I'm going to introduce her, Angel Rich. Just a quick intro. Who is Angel Rich? I think you just made up that last name that you have. I don't even think that's real for you to have that rich last name. But who is Angel Rich?
Yes, absolutely. Well, first of all, thanks for having me. You know, the Hampton love is strong. So who is Angel Rich? Well, first of all, I used to be a global market research analyst for Prudential Financial, but I now own my own company called The Wealth Factory, where we design financial literacy, education, and technology games. We walk people from birth to retirement, and we help them to exceed the personal finance Common Core standards. One of the first games that we've created is called Credit Stacker. It's on Google Play and iOS. It's similar to Candy Crush, except for swapping around candy, you're swapping around credit types to pay off your debt, achieve a high credit score, and learn from the multiple choice questions.
Cool, man. That's excellent. Angel, what is your background? How did you grow up, and what made you choose this entrepreneurship journey?
Well, yeah, I always like to first point out that my whole family sells life insurance. So I grew up traveling around the country, hearing different people's financial pleas, and it always boggled my mind why people didn't know how to manage their money. Moving forward, I also received a vision from God when I was about 6 years old. Around the same time, I was having these questions with myself. And I didn't quite know what financial literacy was or exactly what my role would be, but I knew that I wanted to end financial suffering. And I felt as though people would be a lot more at peace and have a lot more happiness if I could some type of way figure out a solution to make people have less financial pain.
Yeah, and that's what you've been doing with your product, and definitely with your posts on Facebook. They're very engaging. And just all the tremendous success. I read your articles from Forbes to all the other different high-end magazines and the little clips that you post, just walking across every stage, traveling across the world. Again, I'm just very proud of you, just knowing that we came in as freshmen together. I think one thing for me and you is that we're very aggressive with what you call we're red. And that we have this entrepreneurship bug in us. And you had it since you were 6. I've been doing everything from cutting lawns to selling throwback jerseys to everything when I was, young. Why should everyone just experience entrepreneurship?
Well, that's actually a great question. It teaches you how to challenge yourself to fulfill your highest potential. Mm. You might think that you can only accomplish certain things. You might think that you need certain comforts in life. You might think that you are too shy to go ask for something that you really need. But when you are forced into the throes of entrepreneurship and it's either kill or be killed, eat or be eaten, you have no choice but to dive deep within your soul and pull out what you got. And I think there's no better way to be able to really learn that about yourself, whether you make or break. You know, you might learn that you're not cut out for it, which is also something good for you to know. So you're not spending 30 years saying that you want to be an entrepreneur, you know?
Yeah.
And so, you know, my best friend and co-founder, Courtney, she said that I jumped out the window and I built a parachute on the way down. You know, you got to be gangster enough to feel like you can do that and actually build a parachute so that you save yourself and you don't crash and burn.
Yeah, I think the funny thing that we always have is how you able to turn it on and off. And so, like you said, you gangster enough to come in. I didn't see the gangster angel, and I didn't see the professional angel, and so I think that's a funny thing that we always talk about with our common friends. How you able to switch it, and I think our young people need to learn. I'm not telling my students this all the time. You know, you in the hallway joking with your friends and things like that is cool. But when you walk in that classroom or walk in there for an interview, you need to know how to pull your pants up, how to tie a tie, yes ma'am, no ma'am, yes sir, no sir, and how to speak like you have some sense. And so I think that is a skill. I think that is a skill that young people need to learn early. And I think me and you learned that early, especially going to Hampton, right? You had to be able to, Hampton was a different experience because you had people from all over, from the West Coast, the East Coast, down South, and to be able to try to fit in, figure out who you are. But then at the end of the day, everybody had a common goal, which was graduate and be successful. And so when you had to go to those, make those presentations, you seen a different side of people because it was kind of like an inner competition. You know how Black folk, we have an inner competition like, yo, I'm gonna crush this. I'm gonna crush it. You know, speaking of Black people, you know, I know that's real a passion of yours to help us. Statistics show that, you know, Blacks are not you know, financial literate. You know, let's just keep it real, right? My mom sent me a clip the other day. People got their stimulus checks and out here in Richmond and it was pulled up to like a loan bank or something. I mean, the line was out the middle of the street, people acting crazy, they robes on, you know, yelling they need $1,200. I mean, it was just a scene to me that I think it shouldn't happen. And then that's because of lack of financial literacy, right? You know, how did we get put in this position? You have a book, The History of the Black Dollar. Why are Blacks in the position we are now? And what is it going to take us? What is it going to take for us to get out of this position?
That was an entire 4-year college degree of a question you just asked. You know, oftentimes when I get this question, I almost don't even know where to begin a lot of times because a person like me, you know, that's a researcher and a Six Sigma specialist, I always like to go to the root of the issue. And so one of the main reasons that I wrote this book is because as various different people was asking me that exact question, and I was pulling from recent knowledge and recent history, and oftentimes when Black people speak now, they want to focus on the civil rights. But I was like, nah, we got to go back to the very first slave that ever touched base in America. I want to know what happened with the very first dollar that ever touched a slave hand. What was the thought process and what did that slave do with it? And so a lot of people don't know that one of the first Black businesses in the country was an oyster house in Rhode Island, started by some free slaves. And so digging up oysters and selling oysters actually started with Black people. So I wrote this book so that people would have a firm understanding from beginning of history to present day, the different financial challenges as well as victories that we've had in our community. I found that our financial history was conveniently neglected from our Black history pages. I have a friend named Stark Cunningham that was very insistent on getting the book into the state of Illinois library. They were pushing back on her very strongly at first, and then she forced them to do a research study. Upon them doing the research study, they discovered that there was no other book like my book, and that they then integrated it into the state of Illinois libraries, and then wrote a letter of recommendation for all the libraries across the country to write the book. So I turned the question around and I asked you, have you ever read The Diary of Anne Frank?
Yes.
Of course, you don't even hesitate, right? I guarantee if you was to ask 10 of your friends, probably all 10 would also say yes. And that's because it's required reading across the country. Now, can you tell me a book that describes a child of a slave or even Jim Crow that's required across the country in every school?
No, and I'm a teacher. I've been teaching all my life.
Exactly. So why are we studying the Diary of Anne Frank when that wasn't even our country, but we don't have a book of such significant history in our own country to put everybody on the same page? So we're not reading from the same page. If we're not reading from the same book, how can we be on the same page? So everybody is basically having different versions of history that happened to our community. They're not understanding the disadvantages that we have. They're not understanding that our community was robbed 6 different times. There's various different levels of ignorance across all populations. And that is because we do not have a shared history. I was saying in an interview yesterday, I had a friend in college ask me who Frederick Douglass was. I had no clue. So, she was from Roanoke. So I just feel as though for all communities, this book would be helpful in helping everybody to understand that America was built on slaves and free cotton, and that's how we paid for the Industrial Revolution. And then we repeatedly had the money stolen from our homes and our bank accounts, not even taking into account all of the free labor that we provided just on its own.
Right, and I think the argument that was, I guess, it's an argument out of ignorance, I would say, that people say it's not even black and white people, because some black people say the same thing. They say, oh, well, we should be grateful for what we have now, and that it's an opportunity for everybody. But I still believe, like you said, I think we're still playing on an uneven playing field. If I've been in the school system for all my life. There's a big difference in the schools, in the school system. And that's why you have Title I schools. It's a big difference between the type of schools that our kids go to, that some of the middle class or upper class kids go to. And I'm just talking public schools, so it's still free public education. So they're not even learning on an even playing field at a young age. I don't really want to. I know me and you can talk about this for all day, but let's move it to another level. Why is it important that we have more Black entrepreneurs or entrepreneurs, period, especially in this time going on now where a lot of people are losing their jobs?
Yeah, so I'm the author of the African American Financial Experience Study, the first study conducted by a financial services corporation to study the financial behavior of Blacks. And in that study, I was able to prove that about 25% of Blacks own businesses, 35% are associated or work in some sort of small business, and 50% would like to have a small business. Those numbers and statistics are higher for our demographic than any other demographic in the world. I then made the title of that point of research that small business and entrepreneurship is the growth engine of the Black community. That was in 2012 that we did that research study. Since then, the Startup America movement also started in 2012. I've watched us grow from me being one of the first 20 Black entrepreneurs from that movement in 2012, all the way to there being maybe even 1 million of us now across the world. I'm not even certain. It might be 1 million now. So while entrepreneurship is our growth engine, we struggle at the same time because we're not being provided the proper access to capital. Only 1% of money goes to Blacks, and only 0.02% go to Black women. So while the number of businesses have increased by something like 3,600% over the last 3 years, the amount of money has remained the same and just becomes even more stretched thinner. Where before, Blacks were getting about 36,000 on average, while white men were getting about 2 million on average in funding, that figure has now dropped to about 21,000 because the money is being stretched even further. So I'm sharing all of those details to say that our saving grace is entrepreneurship. But we have to learn how to come together more for the access to capital. That's where we're failing. We're not failing on the entrepreneurship. It's there. It's in our blood. We've been doing it from the beginning. We're failing on being united in our access to capital. Without us doing that, without us getting that point and understanding it and actually acting on it and standing firm in different things like the NFL boycott, it's never going to happen. It's just simply never going to happen. And I think that Black people have to understand the bare economics of how that actually impacts us individually. And again, that's why I wrote the book, because that knowledge has been so deeply hidden from us that we just don't understand. We just don't understand actually how easy it would be for us to come together, unite under one cause, and be able to get that access to capital. That's what keeps me up at night, because that's the part that people aren't understanding. In addition to that, I would say life insurance. That's the other saving grace. On the front end of your life, small business. On the back end, life insurance. Worst case scenario, it didn't work out for yourself. The very least you could do is when you turn 18, 19, get a life insurance policy so that you can insure somebody in your family against somebody, whether it's your niece, a friend, your future child. I really don't care. But your contribution to the Black community should be your life insurance policy. Like if nothing else, if you wanna treat the Black community like a fund, get you a life insurance policy. Help somebody that's close to you, because that is how every other community comes up. That is how Jewish people built their wealth. That's how white people built their wealth. That's how every community you can sit here and throw at me has built their wealth. Is that they don't just plan for themselves. They plan 100 years at a time. They plan for generations. They plan for their grandkids, for their great-grandkids. They're not even thinking about themselves. And that's what we don't do. We say, oh, we can't spend it. What's the point? Screw them. This, that, and the third. That's where we're failing. We're not sharing with each other. We're not sharing credit scores. We're not sharing access to capital. We're not sharing power. We're not doing any of that. So unification is what our flaw is.
Unification. I like that. Collaboration. And, that's over this past month or so as I prepare and everything like that and make plans, that's my biggest thing, trying to network and collab with companies like yours and different companies that can make it, I guess, more easier for my student athletes to have better opportunities. And that's what it's about helping the next people. You said something else about legacy and generational wealth. See, I was a little bit different. Me and my mom and dad had this conversation. Matter of fact, about 2 days ago, about we kind of learned with each other. I was kind of older. They were real hard-working family. They wanted me to go to Hampton, college. Then as they start maturing and getting financial literate and learning about the do's and don'ts of their finances, I can see them financially go to another level, right? So it's not even about me anymore. It's about making sure that my kids or their grandkids can be taken care of. So we just keep it going. See, I'm an only child, so now I got 2 sons. I got to make sure my goal is to make sure their kids, now I know they're taken care of. Their grandparents going to take care of them. They're blessed to have 4 grandparents on both sides. And so it's going to be my job, right, to take care of their kids, right? And we just keep it going. And we teach them at an early age about what legacy means and what that last name really means. So you really living for your last name and serving other people. And I think that's what you do a great job of. Every time I see you and I see your posts, like it's always like a servant attitude, a helping attitude. It's not about look at me, look what I'm doing. I'm Angel Rich. I'm rich. All right. So, a lot of times you see people who reach success, right? And it's about them. It's about look what I did. I worked hard. Granted, you deserve some recognition, right? You work hard. I give everybody props. But what are you doing to give back to the community? Is my question. So again, let's help we have viewers and listeners, Angel. We have listeners from all over, young listeners, old listeners. And let's say I have $100 extra after paying all my bills. What should I do with that extra $100?
Well, I would start with some preliminary questions, which 9 times out of 10 is going to be the answer no. Do you have 3 months of emergency savings? Mm-hmm. If the answer to no, if that's a no, then that $100 needs to be going towards that. Next step is 1 year of personal savings. A lot of people skip that, even wealthy people. For some reason, they feel like the 3 months is enough. Well, you do have global pandemics that could happen at any moment, And so you should really prepare for that 1 year savings. I broke my back last year. I was paralyzed for 7 weeks.
Remember that.
So it's like I had to completely live off of my savings. If I did not have, I keep 2 years of savings. If I did not have 2 years of savings, I literally depleted about 1 year of savings in 3 months on my couch. Like just keeping things going, just different things that I just had to do, So I've never expected that. You don't predict breaking your spine. You don't think that that's going to happen, And I spent about 100,000 and lost about $500,000. So it's like, that was a huge loss. That was unpredictable. So it's like, you can't live your life like everything is just going to be all right. So, okay, personal savings. After that, do you have a life insurance policy? Okay, you need to be paying on that in a UL policy, not a term policy, a UL policy, a universal life policy. Throw the whole term life away. It's a scam. Just throw the whole term life away.
Explain the UL policy right quick for our listeners and viewers who don't know what a UL policy is in layman terms for them.
No problem. A UL policy means that you can have a savings account attached to it. It's called a cash value account. So basically, it's a whole life policy, meaning that the price stays the same your entire life until age 100, and you're able to save money in it. And after 3 years, you can withdraw money on it, and it has a 4% interest rate on it, 3 to 4%, depending on the company. And after 3 years, when you start withdrawing this money, you necessarily do not have to pay it back. If you don't pay it back, they just take it out your face amount, meaning whatever the amount is of your life insurance policy. On the other hand, a term policy is going to last 5, 10, maybe 20 years, depending on the policy. At the point where the years are up, let's say you get this when you're 18, which is what I suggest, because that's the youngest age and the cheapest price and the best health for a life insurance policy. So everybody should get their life insurance policy at age 18. Worst case, 22, 23. Definitely by 25, you should have a life insurance policy. So let's say, you're 20 years old and you get a 20-year term policy. You now have just turned 40. Guess what? Surprise, you're not dead. So that policy that you was paying $20 a month for, guess how much it's going to cost you now? Maybe $100 to $200.
Yep.
If you're healthy, if you're not smoking, if you don't have some type of pre-existing condition that won't even allow you to get it at all. Most people catch diabetes between 20 and 35. You're 40. You might even have diabetes at this point. So instead, you could have got that UL policy and been paying $30, maybe $50 at the most, if you want to have a real expensive policy. So it's like, I was in my interview yesterday, somebody asked me, what's the biggest thing people don't know about money? And I was like, how to spend it. People don't plan their money out properly. Like, you're gonna have to live your life. There's certain things you're gonna have to pay for. So you might as well plan them out properly so that you can save as much as possible and be able to leverage and readjust your money. So after life insurance, I would say then you get into investments. Sometimes people want to take that extra $100 and immediately jump into the investments. Whenever I charge $1,000 for a one-on-one investment call. And everybody always wants to immediately dive into the stocks. I never do that. I make them whip out their bank statements. I want to see your credit report. I want to know how much debt you have. I want to know how much your cash flow is. I want to know what your income and expenses are. I want to know all of that before I advise you on one piece of stock. Because if you don't have your savings and your life insurance set up, it's no point of you having an investment conversation with me. You just hustling backwards. You just skipping steps and trying to jump the gun. And like Steve Harvey said, there are no shortcuts in life. The moment you start taking a shortcut in life, you can best believe that that's going to be your future challenge. So whenever I go about things, I try to ask myself, what's the hardest way possible I can go about this? And a lot of people think I'm crazy for that. But guess what? I think I've done all right. I think that I've kind of figured out some things. And while other people have had much faster, success than me, I think that mine is going to be more long-term because I don't take shortcuts. I do the research, I go about things the right way, and I plan them out for the long term. And that's what people should do with that extra $100. What is the biggest thing that this $100 can do for my future? And whatever that thing is, whether it's going back to school and getting a degree, that $100 now needs to go into a savings account to pay for that future tuition so you can go get that dental degree. That's how people should live their life, not what's the immediate next thing that I can do with this.
Yeah, that's good information. You dropped, I don't know how many nuggets you dropped, but I know I'm going to chop them up. I'm going to be posting them, John. You just gave me like a week's worth of posts on my job. So I appreciate that because I be struggling to find social media content, so I appreciate that. Among all the success, you live in life, you enjoying yourself. What kind of things do you do for fun?
Everybody always want to ask me that. I like to make money for fun. So for fun, I come up with other ways on how to make money. Yeah. That's what I do. I literally allow myself from 8 to 10 o'clock at night just to come up with other inventions and other revenue streams of how to make money. I do like to play pool and dance. I started playing pool because I wanted a hobby that made money. And I didn't want to be drinking in the bars, but I wanted to go out. So literally I did also want a skill where I could make money with it, but I don't gamble though. So I'm really good. It's been a period when I was really into it that I went a whole year without being beat. I had people coming from all across the state to come play me in Connecticut. No, I'm dead serious. I won MVP in 2012. I was MVP of my pool league in 2012 and made it to the finals. Oh, you want to see my trophy? You want me to get my trophy real quick?
Next time I come up there and I stay with Nas, I'm gonna tell him we're gonna hit you up. Then we're gonna meet you somewhere. You gotta leave me like 2 or 3 balls, and then you got the rest of them.
Hey, I do it in the beginning, you know what I'm saying? Because I'm a girl, so people don't expect me to win anyway. So if you're like my friend or you're just like real prideful and like everybody watching, depending on your attitude, I'll let you do the first 3 or 4. You know what I'm saying? And then depending on your attitude, because then this is how I test people. Don't forget, I'm a behavioral researcher. So I let them knock the first 4 in. Then they start going, oh, I know you can't play. Poking their chest out. I'm like, oh, for real? Oh, well, let me turn it up now. One of my most famous games was at this famous pool hall in DC. Only professionals play there. It's not a club or nothing. It's just pool tables. And it's this guy named The Bus. You can Google him. You can look him up. and my uncle was a pro player, so they knew each other. So I came in and I said, "Oh, Randy, that's my uncle." He was like, "You're not Randy's niece, this, that, and the third." He was like, "Play a game with me." We ended up playing. This man knocked six of his 7 balls in off the break. It came down to the 8 ball off the break. Okay? Everybody in the pool hall was like, "Oh, this is a wrap. This ain't happening. This, that, and the third. This, that, and the third." He gloating. I say, it ain't over until it's over, until you win. Do you know I ended up winning that game?
You came back.
I ended up winning that entire game. Because he had already knocked his first 6 in. I think I did 3 and then 3. And he still was missing the 8 ball. And then we came down on 8 ball together and I ended up winning. And so, he was embarrassed. He was floored. Like, wow. I mean, but in a good way. He wasn't like mad or nothing.
Right.
And so, yeah, so I really gained like a reputation across DC just off that one game because he was one of the best on the East Coast, so I really used to be really good. I'm still kind of good, but I used to be, I was a professional.
Yeah, I mean, I think the cool part is if I go to DC, I can just name drop, and I'm good wherever I go.
Hey, use it how you want to, brother.
Before we end, I always ask our guests a couple of things, and I'm gonna ask you first if you had to leave us with 3 words. No, before we do that, what's next for you? I mean, you've accomplished so much. Are you 33?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so you accomplished so much at 33, right? That's everybody talk about such a year completion. I turned 34 this year. What's next? What's next? What do you have left to do?
I think I got 3 goals. One is to get history of the Black dollar in every school across the country and eventually the world. I want everybody to fully understand the Black slave and just the Black story in general, not even just slavery, just the Black story in general, just from slavery to present day, all of the different eras, slavery, Jim Crow, Reconstruction, Civil Rights, Black Lives Matter. I want everybody to fully understand, not emotional, not hotep, not academic. I want them to understand from an unbiased, real perspective. Number 2, financial literacy textbook. I'm in the middle of publishing it right now. I should have did it 6 years ago. I don't know why it's taking me so long.
For adults, kids.
Right now, it's kind of written at like a high school level.
Okay.
It's technically applicable 6th grade through college. We've tested it elementary school through college. We're gonna drop this version right now with we'll probably make it at like probably like 8 years old plus, and then we're gonna start dropping the individual versions. Then we got like 5 more versions we're gonna drop of the same curriculum for elementary, middle, high school, college, professional development. We already have a teacher's guide. Oh, I guess there's more. And then we're doing a hip hop version and a Christian version. So we got like 8 other versions that's in the back that we're gonna drop. First, because I kind of want it to be like chicken soup. You know how chicken soup for kids, chicken soup for lovers, that's how I want wealthy life. I want wealthy life for entrepreneurs, wealthy life for real estate people, wealthy life for elementary students. Like I want to have all these wealthy life for Christians, wealthy life for hip hop. I want to break it down so that people are able to not only get the general knowledge, but also how it truly pertains to them individually. Beauty salon owners, like all type of different segments that can use specific financial education for what they're trying to do with their life. I don't think that's ever been done before. I probably shouldn't even be saying this publicly. You're the only person I done said this to.
Hey, ain't nobody doing what you doing, so they playing behind the 8 ball. So look, leave us with you got 3 words, right? It got to be 3 words. Um, for entrepreneurs, what 3 words would you say means the most to you?
Grits, gut, and passion.
Grits, gut, and passion. Grits, gut, and passion. So that's GG, what? GGP. Hey, I do that so I can steal a T-shirt idea. I'm about to sell that joint. I'm about to join that joint, GGP. But hey,
Hey,
Angel,
send me a couple.
hey, I appreciate it. I love you. Miss you. Can't wait to connect with you and walk across the stage with you on your success. Looking to see you just go to another level, right? So now you at the $1 million, multi-millions, and next to the billions. All right.
Love you and miss you too, brother. Feel free. You know, I'm happy to come back anytime. And definitely let me know when you get up here to the city.
For sure. Peace.